What's up, audience? Welcome back to another one. What shall we talk about today? There's one interesting observation I wanted to share, and that is the similarities of corporation and ego. I dare to propose that corporation is actually an equivalent, collective equivalent of personal ego. It has same attributes, and of course, as we all know, ego is suffering. And it's also important what do you mean by the ego, because um, sometimes people mean different things about the ego, you know. But but in this case, I mean um, certain type of structures and beliefs that were created in order to get a certain type of goal. And so that's what corporations do, right? They create policy, right? And they try to get away with as much as possible, corrupt the laws of the country so they can get their uh, way. Um, and because corporation is like a machine, it has a well, it's a reflection of someone's ego, right? Uh, there's a group of assholes, get together and figure out what's the name of the game. All right, get money. All right, let's see. And they're very smart in terms of intellect. They're not intelligent. They're smart. And so they say, all right, so if the name of the game is to make a lot of money, let's see how much money we can make. And so they get to work on figuring out how it can be done. That's pure ego. That's how ego functions. It has a certain goal to accomplish and creates a certain strategies, policies, and goes for it with disregard for anything else. Now, this type of operation is not useless. It's the problem is that it's a tool. It's that incentive is the problem. For example, mind or intellect should not get into the matters of the emotions. It should only focus on um, practical, tangible, execution, analysis, and stuff like that, because it's a tool. But that tool can never be turned inside and start telling you how to, what kind of policies to create in order not to feel bad and whatever, right? But anyway, look at what happens with the corporations. They invade the control of information because they want to control the perception in order to gain profit, right? That's what the ego does. It controls your thought, information, controls your mind, um, in order to get whatever it wants. Um, and so that's that little invasion. Ego and corporations should never get into management of information, only the practical and tangible things and goods. That's basically the law of consciousness, or the law of the universe is kind of broken in that when you allow corporation to control information, and if they control information, guess what? The country's laws is information. They get to, media is information, and so on and so on. You can see where it gets this type of approach. That's the side of corporation that it needs to actually quite useless. It doesn't give anybody good. Just, for example, a lot of corporations should never have existed. For example, Microsoft. It does not produce any tangible goods. It's just management of information, licensing and shit like that. It's ownership of information, which should never be the case. So a lot of corporations, as you can see, they should never existed if we didn't have these laws that permit for the corporation to control the information. I know a lot of people may be saying that no, but that some of it it's okay and whatever. No, no, you gotta cut that out if you don't ever want to have a problem again. You gotta cut it at the root cause. And your corporation should not even handle any kind of fucking software. Like if they produce cars, the software should be open source. And then you can ask like who handles the software. Well, open source. It's a community. Community develops it and handles it because they're doing it for themselves. This is why there's no conflict of interest. They want the best for themselves, and there's no financial gain, but just the quality of life improvement. That's exactly what corporations would never do. They don't give a shit about the quality of life improvement. They only need money, money, money. You know, not that money is bad. Money is just a representation of value, but that invasion, everything that is wrong starts with that. Advertising starts happening. All these subscriptions and shit like that. That is not tangible. Like if the corporation is providing some tangible value, let's say like Dropbox, you're actually renting the space on their hard drive, right? So you don't have to. You can buy your own hard drive, or you can rent the hard drive, so to speak. So it's kind of fair because there's a tangible service to you. You're not paying for the software, you're paying for the hardware, renting the hardware, which is fair. But when you start paying for the software or information, that becomes a problem, especially when a corporation is involved. Because it always will act as a middleman. It will sell you the product, but then with the strings attached and so on and so on. And that type of interaction must be, from the creator to the consumer through the application that is decentralized and not owned by the corporation, like Odyssey.com. Nobody owns it, it's decentralized, and creator creates it, consumer consumes it. And all that interaction, any kind of value interaction is between them. There's no middleman, there's no corporation, there's no ego getting involved. So this is why advertising is evil. And if you want to kind of start banning that type of invasion in your personal life, that's what you should be doing. You should say, all right, I don't tolerate ads. I just don't tolerate ads. It may be a little bit kind of a issue when you are seeing like ads, and then let's say, oh, that was kind of interesting, or the tool that you've been using was useful and now start popping ads. Get rid of it or block the ads. Do not tolerate, because ads will lead you to bad news. Anyway, but you see, ads would never exist in the first place if we would not allow for the corporations to touch information. Corporations are supposed to produce goods, machines, technologies. That's what they're good at, and should never touch information. Management of information, perception control. That's the only thing that's wrong, actually, in a society. There's no other things. If you cut that off, everything else falls into place. There would not be incentives to change and corrupt the laws of the country. Everything starts with this particular invasion of corporate in the matters of information. Same thing with your ego. If you stop allowing your intellect to interpret your emotions or start acting like it's going to help you with emotions. It's going to stop creating these policies and beliefs of how to live life by these rules, right? And that's not, and then you behave a different way, like you believe something about the people, and that then you create that, you manifest that, which is not true intrinsically, but because you believe that to be true, that happens. That's ego. But I just wanted to kind of show the similarities that we don't need to get rid of corporations, just like we don't need to get rid of ego, or the way we call ego. We just need to put it where it belongs in the technical matters. Ego is great at calculating things, which is ego is nothing else but intellect, or the policy formation programs, right? But if the programs are invading, your emotional matters, then that's bad. It's to start messing with your system. But if the program is about a skill, right? If you learn a skill, that's a good program to have. And that's where you're supposed to use your intellect and your ego skills. Okay? You see? And only technical stuff, because it's not possible for the logical mind to make a decision that must stem from the spontaneous intelligence, for example. It's just not possible. Logic must be where the logic should be, and intelligence should be where the intelligence should be. And so that's why, because that law has been broken, the the fruit of knowledge, that infamous fruit in the Garden of Eden, has been allowed to be eaten, and that's it. And now, of course, they're trying to change the laws, but they're gonna have to do this, of course, but not just changing the laws back to the way that they are incentivizing the quality of life of people, but also completely banning this ownership of information, or involvement of any kind of corporate in informational field. Which is, if you're involved in information, you're involved in control of information. If you're involved in the control of information, you're involved in control of the mind. Which means that corporate will obviously try and do its best to fuck with your mind. And the problem is that you allow that corporations to do that. And it's not about like controlling corporations. It's not about making sure that they do it ethically. No, completely ban it at the source. You have to completely ban it at the source. And if the first country that will do that, they will have healthy corporations, which is like, if you do the same thing with yourself, you will have healthy ego. And a healthy ego is the one that does the job that it's supposed to do, doesn't get involved in decision making and belief system formation, and you start living in the right direction. So I'm just saying that, honestly, like, there is a way to get things right on big scale, and that's the first domino that they have to fix. Everything else will fall into place. But that would eliminate a lot of industries that are absolutely useless, and just creating the problem in order to resolve the problem. Anyway, I think I've exhausted the subject. I just wanted to show that ego and the corporate are two very similar things. They're actually collective reflection. This is why, just like you have to understand of how to use your ego in the right direction, right way, the same way, then the society and the country needs to understand how to use their corporations in the right way. Um, Eventually, it's gonna happen anyway, because the corporate that, just like any ego, is self-destructive. So will the corporate. The corporate will destroy its own. Basically, it will cut its own branch that it's sitting on. Um, this is why it's gonna be kind of proof that the people who run the corporations are very highly intellectual morons. That you know, it is what it is. If they would have some degree of intelligence, they would see that this type of game is not worth playing, and then it would go into like a hardware uh, production, a tangible value creation, rather than informational manipulation. And so you can be a tycoon, a corporate giant, but you gotta provide an actual tangible value. This is why then you have, obviously, the person who controls the licensing and the person who actually produces goods, produces technology. One of them is a schmuck. Anyway, that's it for today. Peace. See you in the next one.